Hello, everyone. Uh, Thank you so much for your participation here with me today. And I am talk about my experience in the one SAP conversion project. First of all, I would like to say thank you very much for our sponsors and mainly for the SAP community because this is a very important initiative, and I think everyone learn a lot, and is the unique moment that you can talk with everyone around the world. Okay, just let me introduce myself a little bit. My name is Eid Haddad. I am FICO since 2004, but in fact, I started my career in 2001 as a BAP consultant. And here you could see some social medias that I have my profile. If you want, you could connect with me. And here, for the very probably not too very, but old consultants, just to remember, there's like a certification in the beginning of the years of SAP. Okay, so most of the information that I will talk here, I learned by myself. I learned from the community. I learned in the project and the SAP documentation. So how I learned this by myself, I cannot say I am 100% right and I am not 100% up to date because as you see here, I have two experience projects. One was in 2016, we did the RS4 HANA conversion, the version 1511, and another one was 1709. So right now we have the version 1909, and of course some steps change. But I take a look before do this presentation, and I don't believe you have a lot of change. What could happen is how some environment is more complex that where I have been working maybe has different challenges, different pitfalls. Okay. So the agenda is I will talk a little bit about the as is and to be scenario, what I could learn in these projects, and other points that I see is very important to share. Well, I was in this environment, was ERP 6.0, ERP 7, and the Oracle database. And here is the target where we want to achieve. So before the start project, of course, we did some analysis what will be the best path to do the conversion. We check like, okay, let's go to switch on HANA first, and after that we could do update the HP, or we could go the simple finance. Nowadays is as for financing. So, but we decided to do the project in one only step. Because we will see advantage in this one, at least in this scenario, and you could save money and time in this project. Okay, very quickly, very summarize what is as is and to be. How I mentioned in the beginning, most of my learning come from the public website, the community, and so on. And for me, the most complete source is this website from SAP because it's very detailed. Of course, you need to read a lot, but we could find all answers that we need about the conversion here. What we did was we go in this hyperlinker, select the solution specific, and select this one, upgrade in production integration roadmap. I think that is not the same description here. I take a look another day, and it looks like it's a different title, but it's almost the same means. So we open the all methodology, and of course we see some box here that is not applying in our case. That is, I think, an interesting point, because when the consultant see this, okay, it's a huge project and I need to do a lot of things. But we need to keep in mind that that is a very new methodology, Agile. So you could start like a box project at any time, any moment, and you can anticipate some steps. You can start soon, and of course, some points here is very specific for the scenario, the landscape, and so on. Just to update the slide, the previous one is what I saw when I started the project, but nowadays we have a different screen. But in summary, is the almost the same. SAP just release more features and new lesson learned from the SAP that change some parts here. But again, this activate methodology is, my point of view, is very important. But of course, some big companies in the market are like probably IBM and other big company could use different methodology. But I believe that is only adaptation of the SAP methodology plus something better, or at least what the other companies think is better to do a project. One point that is very important is activating methodology just cover the SAP landscape. If you have something very different, like maybe the Salesforce connect to your environment, maybe you need to do some adaptation here to work with these external systems. Okay, I will explain the methodology. Now I will focus what you prepare, explore, and realize. As you see in previous slides, the methodology is split in several phases. But my intention is to put more effort in this phase, because based on my experience, this is probably 80% of the project. The others is just like 20%, something like that. I don't want to cover everything in detail because the time is not enough, but what I would like to add here, like an important point, in the preparation environment, you need to keep in mind that you need to prepare for the end user training, the backlog priority. Depend of the scenario, maybe you need to do a fit gap analysis. I will give you one example about this. In my case, when you start the project, we see that, okay, SAP now has ECC control credit in the FISD, but now is a new approach. The name is credit management. So you did a small fit gap analysis just to see what you can improve or what you can continue to use and so on. And maybe you will need to back to standard. That's a good point to try to do this kind of analysis. Security is one very important point, because how SAP create a lot of new transactions, and mainly the Fiori app. You need to keep in mind the security team need to work and prepare for the go live. And of course, always housekeeping is very important for S4 project conversion projects. As you see, I will talk a little bit more in the next slide. That is important point, that you could reduce the downtime. You could reduce some effort, like code adapt for the conversion. Okay. Again, this is a slide that I would like to explore. I will explore each part of this, and I will, of course, not go deep and just put what I learned, what I could share, the main points, at least in my point of view. As all projects like that one that you want to converge an environment, the system requirement is first step that you need to take care of. So some points that's very important, the technical points, is the database should be Unicode. I don't want to explain this very deep, but like the previous a long time ago in the Oracle database, you cannot use like Arabic, Chinese with the usual characters. So we need to do this before the start the project. The another point, the version should be at minimum 6.0 and any AHP, but we need to keep in mind that there is some restrictions because that I put the SAP notes here. So you need to read this one. And in my case, as I showed in the beginning, was ECC 6.0, EHP 7. We don't face any issue behind this requirement. Now the point is related to the ABAP only system, because some environments today is working as like a dual stack system. It's like SAP, ABAP, and Java in the same environment. Is the most common when you have like SAP portal for HR. Is a Java if you look for the old solution, prev solution. And the SAP NetWeaver 7.52. I put two another SAP notes here that is very interesting to read, to understand. I just keep this one because when I prepared the slide was after the project, and I take a look to update my presentation, and now you have a new version. And it's a very important and very interesting to take a look in these two SAP notes. And again, another point that is not mandatory, but I think is very important to prepare is a housekeeping. Housekeeping is archive. But when I say archive, it's not only database archive, where I mean the transaction, master data, and this kind of information. We need to keep in mind that you need to do archival for IDOC logs, for some ABAP programs that you built a long time ago that they not use more. It's very important to prepare this one, because maybe if you not do that, you not lose time but waste time in the next phase. You need to prepare the technical team of training, of course. You need to take care about the add-on. I will talk about this in next slide. New GL, I put star here. I want to explore this a little bit. And the database, because how some ECC environment today is on HANA, but is running on HANA the first version, is not possible to do a migration for the S/4HANA 1909 with this database version. So new GL, that's a mandatory or not mandatory? I heard this question a lot in the market and from my company and from my colleagues. If you take a look of the SAP documentation training, I can tell you it's not a mandatory. It's not, definitely it's not a mandatory. But you need to take care about this. You need to discuss with experts to make sure that is the best approach for you. What I mean, until the version 1709, there was some limitations of the new GL. You could active after, but not all features. What I heard nowadays is possible to active everything of the new GL, but again, I would like to suggest you to talk with SAP, with some expert guys to make sure of that. But in technical point of view, is not a mandatory. You could do S4 conversion direct from ECC with Classic GL to S4HANA. When you do that, of course, you don't have more Classic GL, you have a new GL here, and without any filter. Okay, we are preparing the process. this is part of the methodology. We need to take a look of the the table health, not the table health, but financial tables health. Has these two special reports that you could run in transaction SC38 to see if the table is good or not good. These two, not transaction, but reports is not new. In fact, it is old report that support new GL migration, and you need to run this before the conversion. In my case, I run, and surprise, we found some issues in 2013. Some account balance is not work well in one ledger. So when we found this, we opened ticket to SAP, and SAP asked us not to go live without this issue solved. That means the project stopped? No, the project not stopped. We continue with the project, but our go live is direct depend of the SAP solution, because what happened in the end, SAP create like a very special program for us. We apply this program in production and fix the issue. But SAP told us several times, please not go ahead in production environment without this. What is very interesting that we found this issue, but the next steps in SAP, we never face again any warning message. So if you forgot to run this, probably we will face a huge problem in production. But how you follow the methodology, we find this at time and SAP work, and we did face any problem in our go live. Just to put here again, one advice that special report only for new GL. If the environment is not a new GL, you need to run other special reports like that one. But in the methodology, there has all detail about that. Okay, I talk about the system requirement. Now let me talk a little bit the simplification list. Now you need to start to read a lot of documentation. You see, maybe most of the consultant already knows this one. SAP started the S4 in 2015, and the first version of this documentation had like almost 315 changes. It's a huge change, but most of the change here was related of FICO. So in the next year, the SAP released a new version, of course, as we know, 1610, 1709, 1809, and 1909. So what you see is like between the version 1809 and 1909, is like the version is more stable. SAP did release a lot of change in the simplification IT catalog. What I found these numbers, this quantity, was directly in the site. If you go to this website from SAP, we see these items here, and it look like it's more stable now. But anyway, I remember when I read the documentation in this project is already 1,000 pages. Of course, I did read everything. I just read what doesn't matter what is my business, but it's very important to read this one before start on project. And again, there is a SAP note that just to talk a little bit about this documentation, but what is very important is to read the documentation from the website. Merits Planner. Merits Planner is not my expertise. It's more from basis guy. But in summary, the base guy needs to prepare the conversion files. So the base guy is just to run some special reports, create a file, send to SAP Launchpad, and SAP release the files, the installation the special version for your scenario. That means that we cannot just take one file from one conversion and use in another installation. No, each installation has like a very special files to do a conversion. But that that is more for basis, guys. And what I can say, it's impossible to go ahead without this. It's not possible to jump, and that is very important, mainly for the downtime phase. SAP heading check. That is a very famous tool. What that means, you need to run special reports in your SOMAN, or as I put here, is not a mandatory run in the SOMAN. You could run this directly in your ECC environment. You need just read these SAP notes to understand how could do that without the SOMAN. So the idea here is to extract again data from SAP, and with one file you upload in the SAP Launchpad again. Wait some couple days, I think in maximum 1 week, and SAP will release for you like a very detailed information about your environment, about the what you need to do, about your custom code, the S/4HANA database sizing, about the what kind of Fiori apps is recommended for you. That is very interesting and help a lot to prepare your plan for the project. And you have a lot of detail files here. You have a dashboard. You can explore. You can go deeper. Just click in, and you see like a drill down information. When we do that, SAP was in this version, is a reality check. But after we finished the project, SAP released a new one. I didn't have the opportunity to see this in deep, but anyway, I run for one installation, another installation that I work in. And what I see is one more clean and friendly dashboard, but the information for me was almost the same. And I see the same files, I see same details, and probably has something plus, but I could not find. What is I like to say here, this handy check is a free charge, and you could run anytime, inside your environment. Just apply the SAP note if you don't have SOMAN, or run from the SOMAN, download the file and upload it and SAP Launchpad, and after some weeks you could see this like very good documentation that help a lot into to create your plan. You organize your team, how you want to work in the team. And here, when we run, in my case, we found some issues that we contacted the vendor, like the SAP partner. Just to explain you what happened, the environment has HCM configured and one very special add-on. It's not one standard add-on from SAP, but from one partner. And after we run this report gives us one very important information. The add-on is not prepared to migration. Please contact the vendor to understand what you could do. In our case, we added one step more in our cutover plan, because the company created a new add-on version, but the new one that's compatible with the S/4HANA could not apply with the previous one. So we had a special step to uninstall the previous add-on before the downtime, and after the downtime we apply a new add-on. So again, that documentation is important, because could find this kind of issue, and you need to prepare your plan to take care about this before the go live. Okay, now I will talk about this simplification item check. In fact, this special report that you just need to run in your environment. What I always recommend here is you run this in production. In fact, I forgot to say this for the others, but the what should be very good to run the reports, the extraction from the production. If not possible, at least the quality. If not possible, the develop environment. But that one is like a very good tool from SAP that show you what the functional guys like SD, MM, PP, FI, um, CO, and so on need to or reconfigure or prepare a new configuration to, to start the conversion. So after you run the transaction, you see this reporting, and it's very interesting, this reporting, because you could go deeper based on the SAP note. So just as example, um, I run this one where I was working, and we see two points that I would like to share this experience. The first is very famous and the classical one, that CVI, the customer vendor integration, is show here like a stop issue that you need to take care about before they start the conversion. And you see a lot here, a lot others. And for the financial guys, what is very important, the new FIAA, the asset accounting, is not shown here. In the first moment, I was wondering that is like a bug or is like a missing from SAP. But after one investigation, I realized this could be prepared before or after. What I mean, that is not the mandatory again to do before the conversion. So you could do after the conversion. And we have three columns in this report. It's like one is the relevance of the check, the consistency, that for me is the most important one, and the exception. What can say here, if you have like a yellow, the triangle here, you need to read this one. It's not possible to go ahead, just, okay, that's just a warning message. I don't need to take care about this. I don't recommend, never do that. The best is read one by one, of course, if it's related of your business, because each of this line is a MM, SD, PP, CO, PM, and so on. And if you have a red, you must to do something to fix that. And after you fix, you need to run the job again and see if it's a yellow or still red. If it's still red, something is not good. Maybe you need to open SAP ticket. And if it's green, you're good. You could continue the conversion. I want just go explore you want this line here is a general ledger. That's my business. And when you go the SAP note, it's very good documentation. You see here more details, and you could explore this and understand better why you have the head here. And if you click, you select the line and click here in the display consistent check log, you see something more detail like that one. And at least for FI and CO, we have like this very special code. With this very special code, you could go on this note for financial, and you could find very detailed information or guide how you could fix this red button here. So my advice here is always go in the SAP note and the display consistent check log. Always it's impossible to try to go ahead if you not do this investigation. And at least in my case, I could say SAP is released very good notes, very good instructions how you could fix these issues. But as always, you need to pay attention about some special tricks. If you see here, I run this report in the client 310. But when I was doing my research in the log, I see this message, client one. Why I'm run the reporting not in this client, but this report is run in the all client, and you need to care about all client. Oh, maybe you think the client 001 is coming from SAP. I need to care about. Yes, you need to care about that. You have some SAP notes that you could delete this client and others, but anyway, that's a little bit weird, but you need to care about the client 000 for very special case. Here, the SAP note that is explaining you how you could delete the client 001 and 066. And just come back about the housekeeping. If you have like a development environment with a lot of client tests, I would like to recommend you to delete this one. If it's not necessary, it's better you delete because you could can gain time. Another point that I would like to show here is like some standard issue. You see this is a standard company code and ask to do a change here, but that's not possible. And another one is it's possible to change, but when you try to save, it's not possible. I will explain what I did in this case. I follow the instruction. I'm trying to do what the instruction said, but I can't. So how I can change this for green? Here you could revoke this, but you need to take care about this. Is not for all cases. And what is very important, if you try to revoke something that is not make sense or is the problem is very critical, the downtime process will stop in the middle of the downtime. And you show, oh, I stopped the process because you don't solve this issue. So keep in mind, you could use this one, but you could impact the downtime. And that's very interesting because the base guy could find exactly the line and who revoke this one. And maybe you do that, try to just gain time, save time, and create impact in downtime. The base guy will identify you easily. Okay, keep this in your mind. Code ABAP Inspector, that is a mandatory step that you need to do. I could say this tool is very good and at least for us work very well. We could identify probably almost 99% of the issues and the ABAP team working on that. And in our case, we didn't face any impact in our go live. Maybe because our ABAP team was very good, but in my point of view, I believe the code spectrum is very, very good too. Just to let you know, today I watched this presentation was very, very good. I could recommend for all ABAPers to watch this one because that he showed all details and a lot of things that is amazing. That's my recommendation. Okay, now let's talk about this phase here. And now we start a downtime and deploy the S4HANA environment. So this downtime could start only after all points that I explained here until now are solved. If everything is solved, you could start to do the downtime. So I will talk a little bit about the downtime. The SUM software update management is a special tool that only bases work. And after that, I will talk a little bit about this post-processing. That's a very important tool. So if you remember well, in the beginning of my presentation, I talk about the one basis tool to extract the data and prepare the conversion. So the prepare conversion, I already talk about this one. One point that's very important, the downtime is here, but the preparation for the time start few days before, because there are several tasks that base need to prepare. What I mean, the project manager cannot wait everything is finished to say the base guy. You need to finish. We need to start. So the base guys start to prepare and run the Zoom tool. The Zoom tool, that means a downtime, as you see here, and only base guy is working here, and the conversion start. After this downtime finish, what I mean, after the base downtime is finished, has some very interesting points. At the table AC doc is empty, but the table Met doc is automatically migrated in this downtime. Not all the tables disappear. That was for me a little bit a surprise. Like a material ledger is still there, and the environment that I've been working has a material ledger with actual costs. And there is a special transaction, CKM3N transaction. You just have a new document, but in fact, that is happening after the financial downtime. I will talk now about the financial downtime here. That's a very interesting steps here. When the base guy released the environment, only the FI consultant could connect to start the migration. As you see here, there are several steps. I was wondering why SAP do this kind of activity for FI and not for the other modules. In fact, FI and CO here. I believe because SAP started this for the first version, it was the Simple Finance, and I think SAP continue with the same approach here. That's my wondering. I'm not sure about that, but anyway, we need to run this after the base. And here, only financial guy and CO guy could be need to prepare everything here, a lot of his tasks, and the environment is like a lock. Anyone could create any journal entry or like a material movement and other kind of things. It's not possible. Okay, when you run this, you have a lot of logs, and these logs again has a special codes, and you could explore these codes, and you could find this, and again has a SAP note give you details about that. And you can run this several times. It's not a problem. You could start from the scratch. At least in my case, in the sandbox, I start at least twice, but in sandbox environment. The next slide, I just want to show a little bit how many times that you run the conversion. In our case, we did one copy for production and did this like exercise. That's a very important point for me because it's the first time that we're doing. And just to keep in mind, here we will expand probably 1 month to finalize everything. But the good point is we create like a cookbook. We map all issues. So after that, if everything's mapping, everything's solved, we start to do in the develop environment. And in this case, in this moment here, we start to create a change requests, and that's good because we reduce the time to next phase. But what you need to keep in mind, the conversion need to do in each environment one by one. In the QA, we did twice because we want to optimize our downtime. And just to share with you, our downtime here was less than 6 hours. We could do conversion in production in less than 6 hours without any issue. But we repeat here, we do a lot of tests here, so it's very important to do this kind of exercise. I'm almost finished. What I want just to share right now is the business partner, is a CVI. In our case, we face something a little bit new for us. How the payroll was configured, we have to migrate all employees to business partner. The new GL is not a mandatory, but as I said before, keep in mind that some filter is not available until the version 1709. The new FIAA before or after, in my case, after was very smooth. The client, you need to deploy the migration for all client. The host called adjustment. I forgot to mention that, but you need to take care about the before and the after. The presentation that I mentioned before explained this very good. The theory, at least, and this time is not mandatory.
Hi,
If
Haddad.
I
Sorry for interrupting. You have 5 minutes left. I just want to remind you that.
okay, and what I would say is each company country has a different case, and we lost some variants about the users not happy about this because some reports is still the same transaction but change the report behind the transaction. The documentation, sorry, I go fast. Documentation is very important. That's my final lesson learned. You need to be very updated. You close the communities. You see a lot of YouTube, OpenSAP, and thank you so much for everything, for everyone, for all the audience. And I keep here my contact. If you have any question, just contact the media, social media. Okay, has any questions that could help answer if you have time,
Yep.
of course.
We have 5 minutes left, so I think we can answer some questions. The
Mm-hmm.
first question is Horst. He asked that lesson or hints learned when migrating data to S4 from ECC.
Sorry, I didn't get your question. Could you repeat, please?
Lesson or hints learned when migrating data to S4 from ECC.
Less or run? I
Lesson learned.
last one. That one.
Lesson learned when migrating data to S4 from ECC.
You mean? I can't get it. Let me check in the site. The people writing the. Okay, we are running the half row section. I'm trying to find here. Who said that one?
See, Finforce. He say lesson or hints learned when migrating data from S4 to ECC. Lesson
I'm
learned.